was very lucky at 5 years old for my father to move from a Catholic faith into spiritualism. So I myself have been a spiritualist for 76 years. So if you add 76 and 5, I'm actually 81. I was very fortunate that I grew up with a deep trance medium and a platform worker. So most of my life has been involved in one way or another within spiritualism. I've travelled to the UK quite a number of times to sit before my peers, not necessarily just for mediumship, but I have an award for speaking and demonstrating. I have a diploma for speaking. I have a diploma for education. I also have a long service award. So to me, spiritualism has been a large part of my life. And as I say, I was very lucky to grow up with a deep trance medium, something we don't really see much of today, not in the depths that he used to go to. I'm going to ask you a question here. How many of you, when someone has asked, what's your religion, and you've said, I'm a spiritualist, how many have you watched the face in return to your answer? Eyebrows lifted, questioning look, and sometimes even the voice. Oh, are you the ones that sit round tables and say, is there anybody there? And when you try to describe who and what we do, the look is quite amazing sometimes. So when we look at spiritualism, and I often wonder who gave us that name, spiritualism. And it's a very apt name because the little thing ism means belief. So we believe in spirituality. So it's an apt name for us. And when we come to the way that we live, the way that we are as a spiritualist, we find ourselves a little bit on one side of the majority of religions today. We are unique in our belief system. We are unique in our teachings. And when we look at our principles, which were given by Robert Owen in 1871 through the mediumship of Emma Hardinge Britton, we were lucky to have those principles at this time present in our life, because we can understand that all religions believe in God in some way or another, apart from Buddhism. We also understand that not all religions teach the brotherhood of man. We are unique in our third principle, the communion of spirit and the ministry of angels. And also with our fifth principle, personal responsibility, because no religions teach and practice what we do in those two principles. Many people in the world today expect that they can go somewhere to someone, express what they have created and what they have done in their lives, and expect to be forgiven. Not many realize that what we do in our life is actually on our own shoulders. We are responsible, and we will face that, what we have done, when we leave this earthly plane and go into the world of spirit. We will then understand the meaning of the word, the continuous existence of the human soul. Because a lot of times people believe that when you die, and that's the end. And that is a terrible shame that people have that belief instilled into them. And when we come to realize sometimes that we are unique, we have that wonderful communication with the spirit world. We have that wonderful knowing that when we do leave this life, we will continue and we will meet those loved ones that we've left behind. Going back again to the 7 principles, how fortunate are we to have those guidelines? Because prior to 1871, we had no guidelines. We had no guidelines to live our life as spiritualists. And of course, we know we have no dogma, we have no creed. So there again, we are unique. Christianity in itself has a lot to learn from who and what we are. And we could teach the world an enormous amount of how to live your life. I always think that being who I am, where I have been, what I have learned in one lifetime, I cannot have all the experiences that I need to have in this life. For example, if we have never starved on the streets of India, do we really know what it feels like? If we have never had horrendous things done to us as a human being, how do we understand what that feels like? When someone leaves this earth and we say, I know how you feel, but we don't. We don't understand how another being can feel and experience that loss. We can only go off our own experiences and our own losses. And this is where spiritualism, to me, has a great factor in our life. Because we know that life doesn't end at death. We know that we can communicate with those loved ones that have gone before us. We know that they can stand by our side and help us in all the things we wish to achieve and all the things that we do in our life. And so we have that comfort that many, many other religions don't have, that comfort of knowing about their loved ones that have left this life. You know, for centuries, the belief in afterlife has been very prominent in our history. The Chinese have what they call the ancestor worship. You look back at the Egyptians and their belief in the afterlife, the omens that they were given to help them along their way in life. So there's always been that belief. It has never, ever been not there. Because as far as I can understand, that the first human being that ever walked the earth had a communication with spirit. Because we are spirit. We all have that divine spark within each and every one of us. And that is something else that many, many religions don't teach. That we are spirit. That we are divine. That we can have that connection to the divine in our prayer, in our services, in our homes. We can all reach out to spirit. We can all receive that which we need on a day-to-day basis. This is something that I believe religion lacks in that word. People are taught to understand that church is very important in their life, that they must have that communion, that confession, that being absolved of all their sin. How often do they do this and then go out and do the very same thing again? If we could teach them that second principle, personal responsibility, hangs on their shoulders, what difference would it make in their life? I know that when I leave this world and I enter into the spirit world, I know I will have to look at my life here and realize what mistakes I have made, accept them, move on, and create a better understanding for myself in the spirit world. People ask me many times, what is spirit? What is the spirit world? Where is it? What is it like? And you have to say to them, it is not up there, it is not down there, it is all around you. We live in the spirit world in a physical body for this journey of this lifetime so that we can understand the challenges that we need to have in life. We understand too, spirits are infinite. We know that one day in our progression spiritually, we must move forwards and upwards in that spheric land. If we can understand that this life is a learning experience, it's a curve in our evolution, it's where we can understand and express the human emotions that we cannot do in the world of spirit. We cannot experience the sadness, we cannot experience the loss of a loved one, We cannot experience what it feels like to have challenges one after another in this life, face them and move through them with joy if we can, and understanding that that lesson in life we needed to understand. These are things that spiritualism teaches us. These are the things that are very important to each and every one of us in this lifetime as a spiritualist. And if we can understand too that not only in this life, but perhaps in the next life and the next life as a human being, we will be facing more and more challenges, more understanding to gain us that spiritual evolution and progression that we need. You know, sometimes people say, well, okay, where is spirit? And I say, it is around you, it is not above you. And where we go and who we as mediums communicate with are the mums and dads, the aunts and uncles that have been part of our earthly family. We communicate with those because not only do they need to make their presence felt, but perhaps they have something to tell us, a little glimmer towards a problem that we've been facing in our life at that moment in time. So for me, it is important, working as a medium, that you give that message at the end of your link, because we all need to hear from spirit. We all need to be part of that spirit world. And this service today makes us part of that world, because I'm sure that each and every one of us have our loved ones around us at this time, have our loved ones trying to make their presence felt to all of us here, trying to help us to understand that this life is not eternal. Our spirit is eternal. Our life as a human being, as a host for our soul to live in, will end. And sometimes I look at my life, my years and my age, and I know that someday my life will end too. And in many ways I look forward to that. Not that I want to leave my loved ones here on earth, I don't. But I'll be joyful to meet those that have gone before me, those that I love and they love me. Again, as a spiritualist, these are things that we could share with the world if they had open ears and open hearts. But unfortunately, religion in its entirety has closed the door to who and what we are. In early Christianity, the priests themselves sat for development, spiritual development. And unfortunately, many people around them did so too. But then the priest decided that this was only for them. And those that practiced that communion with spirit be put to death. And so, as we know, that communication went underground and only came really to the fore in 1848, when modern spiritualism was born. And modern spiritualism was born because the spirit world needed us to understand it, needed us to know that this life is eternal, the spirit is eternal. So in 1848, the Fox sisters in a little town in America were given the privilege of being able to hear raps in their home. Those raps came from a peddler that was buried in their cellar. And so through their understanding, not understanding, but through their investigations, found that those rats could also see as well as hear. And so then spiritualism, as we know it today, was born. It gave freedom to people that were encased in what we call religious, I can't think of a word for it. It gave freedom to those that needed to move out of that particular belief. It particularly gave freedom to women Because in the majority of religions in those days, women were not counted. But yet we all know that women, because of our sixth sense, if you like, are more inclined to mediumship. Don't ask me why. I don't understand, and I don't know why this is. So when we look again at our life, our beliefs, our system, with no dogma, no creed, we look at our 7 principles and we thank God that we are lucky to be in this pathway of life, because it gives us so much joy to know and understand that no matter where we are, no matter who we are, Spirit are always there, always around us. And it gives me pleasure today to join you in this service. I've never been to Victoria, and I feel sorry for you at this present moment in time with what is happening around you with this terrible virus. We are very lucky here in West Australia. We have no active cases. I think we have 5. We have no community spread. Our churches are open. Our church opened 3 weeks ago, along with the guidelines of the sanitizing their hands, signing in, all that sort of thing to keep ourselves safe. But we are very fortunate that we can now gather as a congregation. Our last service, we had 47 people came to our service. People that I didn't expect to come because of the virus that's going around. So my heart goes out to you, because your churches can't be open at this present time. And it is nice to gather together in unity with that energy of love around us, and not only from each other, but also from the world of spirit. Our churches are full, not necessarily of physical bodies, but our churches are full of spirit people that come to be with us in our divine services. So I find myself extremely lucky that at the age of 5, my father left the Catholic faith. I was in a convent, and I was removed quite quickly and put into a normal school. And at 5 years old, I was at Damask in the class. I could say my catechism and all the things that Catholic Church taught us, but I couldn't attend a normal school and be like the other students. In that way, I shared a lot of things with my father. I saw his development as a medium. I saw his development as a deep trance medium. We had the pleasure of speaking to guides, helpers, loved ones, face to face. We had the understanding that those spirit people came to give us an education, to give us an understanding of how things work in a spirit world. In my youth, many, many years ago, in my youth, I also attended Lyceum. I don't know whether you understand what Lyceum is, but it is what I call a Sunday school for spiritualists. Not necessarily from those of the young, but from 1 to 99, we can attend a Lyceum. And for me, it is what I call a very slow development class, if you like, because we learn about the spirit world, we learn how spirit works, we learn all the things about mediumship. We have to thank Andrew Jackson Davis for that part of our belief. He brought it back from what he called the Summerland. It taught children that a healthy mind, a healthy body creates a healthy mind. And Lyceums are still going in the UK. We don't have any here, but I wish we did. But in England, we have a lot of young children attend church. I don't see young children here in our churches, but in the UK, in my day, we did. So throughout my life, Spiritualism has helped me in many, many ways. It has taught me understanding of people. It has taught me how I myself can communicate with Spirit. It has also taught me patience, tolerance, and understanding. It has also taught me that we are never alone in this world. No matter if you're in intensive care with COVID-19, you are never alone. Spirit are always with you. We have a wonderful way of life. We have a wonderful belief system. It's just a pity that we're not as large as the organised belief systems of today. I know in the UK we have about 300 spiritualist churches. At the moment all closed, like you in Victoria, and like you and perhaps in the rest of Australia, closed because of this virus. But again, I feel privileged to have walked this pathway. I feel privileged that I can call myself a spiritualist. The only time I don't call myself a spiritualist is because I do volunteer as chaplain in aged care. And many times I'm asked, what religion are you? And my answer is always and always will be, my religion is for everyone in this building. I belong to all of you. And this is something else that spiritualism teaches us. That no matter what you believe, no matter what pathway that you walk, there is always that divine spark within you, that part of that Godhead. I always wonder where that Godhead is. I suppose many of us do wonder, where are you, God? I look on it as being perhaps a divine energy, an energy source that we can all tap into, an energy source that eventually, through our spiritual progression in the spirit world, we may unite with. Many, perhaps millenniums in the future. Again, we have no answers for that. I wish we did, But we can always say to people, God is within you. God is in your heart. God is within you as a spirit. Life is funny, isn't it? In many ways. We can talk to people. We can try and get them to understand what spiritualism is, or what it means to communicate with loved ones that have gone. And many of them fail to understand. We belong to the Witchcraft Act. I don't know about in Victoria, but in West Australia, this Witchcraft Act is still a law. In England, it is now the Consumer Protection. But we can still here in West Australia be prosecuted for our belief. It is a law that doesn't really take much effect in our churches. We don't have anybody, we used to do, but we don't now have anybody prosecuted for their belief. We're all entitled to our religious belief system, whatever it may be. I find myself here a little bit rambling. This is the first time I've done an address like this online. I'm usually in front of people. I can usually feel their energy. I can feel whether they're interested in what's coming out of my mouth. But this is, for me, is new. It is something I've never done before. And perhaps I may never do it again. Because here in West Australia, we don't have the technology or the technicians that can do what you're doing in Victoria. It seems to me we don't have anyone with that expertise, which I wish we did, but we don't. So it's a privilege to share your service today. It's a privilege that you've listened to what I've had to say. And it's a privilege that I will never forget. Because sharing this service with you has been an absolute pleasure. And to share a little bit of my life, and my life as a spiritualist. Because in the 76 years that I have been involved, I have only perhaps had a break, maybe 20 years when I was bringing up my family, But for the last 57 years, I have actively been involved. I have taught. I have lived in South Africa for 6 years, and I taught and I practiced my mediumship there. Albeit a lot different than here. Believe you me, the mediumship over there is totally different. But I still worked, I still taught in 2 churches, and it was a great privilege to do so. I teach here, my own development classes. What more can I say about myself? I don't know. But it has been a privilege to be with you all this afternoon. And as I said before, share a little bit of me and who I am, who I have been, and who I perhaps may be in the future. Who knows? At 81, I don't think I may have that many years left to share my belief system with people. But I hope I can still do so when I leave this earth and come back. Maybe teach to somebody else. Who knows what's in the future for all of us? Who knows what life has ahead for each of us? But I know in my 76 years, or my 81 years, it's been a privilege to be a spiritualist. It really has. It has opened my eyes to many things. It has opened my eyes to understand perhaps how people do feel when they lose a loved one, and the joy when you can give someone that reunion link from the spirit world for that loved one that's gone before them. Sometimes tears of joy. Sometimes I've even had people say, I don't want to hear from them or that particular person. But who knows why those loved ones come forward at the times in our lives when we really need that comfort, that knowledge that life goes on, and that message of hope that they perhaps give to each and every one of us. I thank you for listening. I thank you for being part of this service, and I thank you for allowing me to be here and express my thoughts of how I believe in spiritualism and what it has done for me, and what I know it can do for every one of you that are listening here today, and what it can do for you in the future. So again, I say thank you for listening. Thank you.